Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the Voices of Healing podcast, and I'm your host, Tina Clark. Today I have Richard Tierney here. He's going to be our guest, and we're going to dive deep into trauma and how to overcome it. And Richard has found a solution to his own trauma. And I think this is a very important topic because this is something we really need. I think a lot of people are traumatized. It's very common, and we need real solutions, real modalities that's going to help us and our loved ones. So, welcome to the show, Richard.
Tina, thank you for having me. I'm really excited about being here. I love your podcast title, Voices of Healing. It's just awesome. And I do believe in the holistic approach. I believe we have to find something different to what mainstream medicine give. Nothing against mental health professionals. My sister's a mental health professional. She went to college, she studied for 4 years, she did all her hours to get to be a mental health professional. I think mental health professionals, in the essence of who they are wonderful, empathetic, kind people. When I was younger, I had two therapists work with me for my trauma. They couldn't help me, but they were the most kind, loving, caring, empathetic people. And I have a real soft spot for those two people in my life. And they helped me to see I needed to look outside the box. But I really have great respect for them. Personally, I believe that there's mental illness and there's mental disorder. I believe mental illness can only be treated by mental health professionals. But I think mental disorders are a dysregulation in our emotional and mental well-being from an event that happened in our past. And we need to treat that holistically. That's why I went on this journey from my own experience. So one thing I want to say before I start, I believe that every one of us suffers trauma at birth. You think about it. We're born in the mother's womb. We lived in this place for 9 months, which is the perfect, wonderful place. Our mothers feed us, they clothe us, they give us all our nutrients, the whole lot. And then suddenly one day we die a death and we're dragged out from this place. And in that moment we jump into fight, flight, or freeze. And you see a baby being pulled out of the womb and it goes numb, it goes comatose. And the doctor holds them up, slaps them on the bum to wake them up. And in that moment they lose the sense of freeze. Their coping skill is freeze. That's their coping skill is freeze. But when the doctor slaps them in the bum to get a reaction, they now know in life they can never freeze. It's not a safe thing to go. So their first coping skill is freeze. They can't use it. The others should come out there screaming and shouting. You don't know if they're fight or flight. Their doctors wrap them in a blanket. And straight away, they don't know that their first response to danger is no good. They've been wrapped up. They've been blocked from fighting or flight or running away or fighting. So we come into life growing up where we're missing our original instinctive response to danger. So if you were wrapped in a blanket and you couldn't run away or you couldn't fight, you're less responsive to that natural instinct in your body to do that when you grow up as an adult. And if you were a child who froze and someone slapped your bum and woke you up, your natural instinct is to freeze, but your body's saying to you, you can't freeze because it doesn't work. So straight away, we're traumatized. In life, we're not going to respond as we're meant to respond. Now, if a child was born and the doctor let them freeze or let them to shake it around until they calm down, give them to the mother holds them, and then the child comes into space, that child is going to be perfectly healthy for the rest of their natural. But if they did the old thing where the doctor wrapped them in a blanket or slap them in the bum to get a reaction, they lost one of their natural instincts. And that's something that we have to be really aware of before we even start anything. Most of us come into this world missing our natural instinct to run, to hide, to freeze. We've lost that ability because of the way we were born. And again, it wasn't done intentionally. No one was out to get us. Just no one knew any better, and they didn't realize that people had these three responses to danger and that they were robbing them of that ability. So when a child is given straight to the mother holds it, that connection is recreated, and the child calms down, wakens up, whatever, and he's whole and complete. So that's what I believe for myself. And I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes great sense to me when you see the number of cases of people who aren't able to freeze, but if they freeze, they'd be very comfortable. They aren't able to run away, but if they could run away, they'd be very comfortable. You see children nowadays, and they don't understand that their feelings and their emotions are their God-given instincts. We're meant to run away. We're meant to hide. We're meant to leave the building. We're meant to leave a relationship. We're meant to freeze. We're meant to shut down emotionally. It's perfectly okay because there are instincts. When you're threatened with danger, do something. So we're trying to teach children nowadays, don't think because you're anxious that it's a disorder. Don't think because you're depressed it's a disorder. That's the way you're meant to react. If you're depressed, if you feel depressed and it says run away, just run away. run down to the shops, run out in the garden, hide up a tree, hide in the spare room, hide in the closet, just take the action. Your feelings are your instincts. And that's basically where I'm coming from.
So the babies, you're saying they don't learn to freeze or run away. So what
They're
did
left,
they do?
so
How did
they're
they
left,
cope?
so in future, they're left with the other two. So if you're a coping skill, if God created you to run away and you found you were wrapped up in a blanket as a child, now your responses are to fight and to freeze. But it's not your natural ability. Your natural ability is to run away. And you've been blocked from that. So now you're out of your comfort zone, trying to run away or freeze when your mind's telling you to whichever one you're missing now. So if you can't run away, it's forcing you to fight and be confrontational when your nature is to run away. It's causing you to freeze when your nature is to run away.
Yeah.
If
I
you get
think
passive,
I used to fight more, but now I run away more.
somewhere fighting didn't work for you anymore, and you lost faith in that. And if we can teach people to go back to having faith in their first instinct, so whatever your mind tells you first to do, you do that.
Yeah, it's probably my
Yeah.
first instinct is to fight back,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now I think, is it worth it? Is it worth it getting riled up? Does this really matter? Is this person important enough for me to do this? So I ask a lot of questions first before I invest my energy into it.
So the trick is you can change your fight. So rather than actual confrontation fights, you can fight by report the person in an email, phone the police, phone social services, tell your boss what's going on with your thing, tell your mother what's going on with your grandmother, tell your grandma what's going on with your mother. You can take action some other way. You can pray about it. You can come on a Reiki course with Tina or do a trauma course with Richard. There's different things you can do, but you can take action.
Yeah.
The trick is if your thing is to think, I can't be confrontational because the person's bigger than me. I'd be confrontational by screaming and shouting and kind of going, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, and let people come over and see what's happening. We can take action in other ways. There's so many different, we can ask for help. You live in America, I'm from Ireland. The social services in our countries are phenomenal to help people. The social services, there's community officers, there's in your workplace, there's always going to be a career guidance teacher, or there's someone you can go to and say, this person's bullying me, this person's sexually harassing me, and something will be done. So we can take action and fight through somebody else. We can get someone to stand beside us, shoulder to shoulder.
Hopefully
Yeah.
something is done. Depends on the person that they chose to confide in.
Well, that's the whole thing. Again, you can go to a priest, you can go to a police officer, a social service. But it's just that if we can teach people to take an action. Now, if their action is to run away, run away. If your action is to pretend you're asleep, go and pretend you're asleep. If your action is to shut down emotionally, mentally, and freeze, you shut down emotionally, mentally. You don't need to zone out and leave the building for 5 minutes while the parents are arguing in the background. You just go to space, sit there, and shut down, and that feels safe to you. When I was in my early 20s, I used to hide behind the couch. I mean, looking back now, it was insane, but it felt safe. I remember being in my home on my day off. My family were very worried about me. I was sitting at home in my house watching TV, chain smoking. And they came to the house. My mother had passed away, my father and my brothers and sisters. And they're at the window looking in at me. They can see me through the net curtain. I was on the couch and I was oblivious. And I saw they were there. I pulled the couch over. I went behind the couch, got down my hands and knees, hands over my head, rocking back and forth, and looking in. They can see me saying, Richard, we can see you. Open the door. Let's come in. And I'm there just rocking like this, thinking, go away, go away, go away. Eventually, they're worried if they come in, maybe I'll have a manic and I'll go crazy. And they left me. And once they left me, I got up, sat in the chair again, watched TV and smoked cigarettes. And talking to you now, it's crazy action, but it kept me safe. In that moment, it gave me sanity and safety. I went to behind the couch, stayed there till they were gone, and I felt safe. It doesn't matter that it's crazy or that it's madness or anything. In that moment, I took an action I was comfortable to do. I never hid behind the couch again. It was the only time I did it, but I felt safe in that moment. Hide behind the curtains, hide under the table. Whatever helps you to feel safe in that moment. We have to teach people it's okay to trust your instincts. They're God-given instincts.
I spent a lot of time in my room playing with my dolls. Like I had all the Barbies, right? And I would role play everybody and do all these little stories and forts and I grew up in New York City, so I didn't have access to a backyard. Like I couldn't just go play outside. I had to have somebody with me, right? Like my sister. who wasn't always available. There wasn't anybody available. So I was actually stuck inside a lot.
So you trusted your instincts. Your instinct escape into your little doll world. That's where you went. Didn't matter what anyone else thought. We don't. If we get caught up in what other people think we're doing is crazy or wrong, we won't do it. But if you just go into your zone of build your fort, play with your Barbie dolls, play with your teddy bears, hide in your bedroom, and you do it, you feel safer for it. Now, if I make a mistake of telling my therapist this is what I do, they'll go, "Oh, you're mentally disordered. We have to give you medication for that," or that's a silly thing to do, hiding behind the couch. I won't do it, and then I block myself from having something that worked for me. So it doesn't matter. Other people don't understand it. If in that moment it works for you, you keep building your forts and playing with your Barbie dolls until you're 27, until you're 25. If it works for you, but somewhere on the line, we have to start adding to our army. So for you, your army back then was building a fort, staying in your bedroom, and playing with your dolls. So now you start adding something else to it. Okay, I know they work. Let's try maybe praying. Let's try maybe speaking to my granny or my uncle or my aunt, someone outside the family I can talk to, or a friend, go to my friend's house, or hop, skip, and jump, or play sport. What else can I do to add to my army? So always trying to find new coping skills, and some will be good and some will be bad. Some of you find that action doesn't work for me. Fighting doesn't work, so I'm not going to fight. But I try maybe leaving. So I go down to the shops and buy an ice cream. I leave the apartment, I go to a friend's apartment. And that works. Suddenly you've got another coping skill there. So it's about teaching people to have new coping skills. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about trauma and how to overcome it and heal from it.
Brilliant. I love this. Okay. Now, Tina, can I ask you, are you in your 30s?
No.
I'm going to pretend you're in your 20s.
I'm 51, actually.
Oh my God! My apologies. I can't. I'm 64. Everyone to me is about 35. So
that's okay. A lot of people think I'm in my 30s.
So you're in your 50s. Okay, I want you to imagine right now. Imagine yourself that you're going through an actual trauma in your life today. I'm not talking about something from the past, but something's happened in your life. You're in a dysfunctional relationship at work or whatever, and you're a survivor. So you're going to work through this, and you're going to work through it so that in the future aspects of Tina, who will be 60 and 70, won't have to deal with this. So you're having this real challenge today, working through a trauma, and your intention is to be a survivor and survive, okay? And let's say you're doing this for 2 years and you finally overcome this trauma and you've been put it behind yourself so that future aspects of you are free of it, okay? Let's imagine that's a scenario. And then you look at yourself, say, in 20 years' time, you look at 70-year-old Tina. She's living there in Charlestown, having a wonderful life, family all around her, everything's wonderful, beautiful. And then you see the 70-year-old Tina suddenly go into the dark recesses of her mind and pull out this chest from the corner. She opens up this chest, and inside it's a cloak. She puts the cloak on, she puts it on, and zips it up, buttons it up. And this cloak is a cloak of what you've been suffering at the age of 50. She takes this cloak out, and she's not going around telling everybody that what happened to you at 50 happened to her. Now, you suffered and endured and survived that trauma, so she'd be free of it in 20 years' time. You sacrificed so much so she'd be free of it in 20 years' time. And she's choosing to start suffering it in 20 years' time, saying, this happened to me. It's like she's choosing to be a victim of your trauma when you've already defeated the trauma. And the question is, how would you feel about that? What would you want to say to your older self in 20 years' time? So I had this experience with my 12-year-old child saying to me, Richard, give me my shit back and fuck off and have your life. I mean, I've already defeated it. Why are you giving it a second victim? Why are you choosing to be a victim of what happened to me at 12, to you in your 50s? Give me back my crap and just get on with your life. I defeated that trauma. I overcame it. I survived it. And you're giving it life in the future? What do you think you're doing? It's none of your business. It happened to me. It didn't happen to you. So I had this conversation with myself. It would be a holistic thing, where it's my younger self giving out to me and saying, stop taking my crap from the past and bringing it into your future. It's got nothing to do with you in the future. I survived all this, so you'd be free today. And that's really the essence of the trauma. We have to have this conversation with ourselves, realize what happened in the past didn't happen to this 50-year-old man today. So I'm 64 years of age today. So what happened at 12 years of age to a 12-year-old child didn't happen to the 64-year-old man. And if I was 64 years of age back then, that person wouldn't have come in. I would have clobbered him. It would never have happened to me. So it didn't happen to the person I am. I only have these 24 hours. My 24 hours starting with this chat with you this morning. So you and I are here having a chat about trauma. I'm not a 12-year-old child. I'm not existing 50 years ago. If I took a photograph of myself today and put it beside a photograph of that 12-year-old child, you might see a family resemblance. You see the two different people, one's a child and one's an adult. You know? So we're not the same person. So my life is these 24 hours today, which is starting out with my chat with you. And then I'll continue my day. But I'm not living a life that happened 50 years ago. You know? So we have to separate who we are. So I'm here, and all my power is in today. I can't change the past. I can't go back and even change what I did yesterday. You know, what makes me think I can go back and change something that happened 50 years ago? We can't alter or change the past in any way. And if we're truthful with ourselves, that younger version of us who suffered this doesn't want us to give life to something that they overcame. I wouldn't want my future aspect of me in 20 years' time to be trying to overcome something I overcame already today.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I also think that inside of us there's different versions of us. Like you still have that 12-year-old inside that, what we call the inner child.
Hmm.
And what I found really helpful is working with the inner child and asking him. You would ask him, how is he doing and what does he need from you as Richard in the present timeline.
Okay.
And then as an adult, we can give them what they need that was not given to us by the adults or our parents. So what we're doing is like parenting our own selves.
I understand that, but the problem with that, and I found that for myself. I've done the inner child work. I'm a member of ACA and ACOA. I feel sometimes like I'm betraying my order by doing this work, because I did ACA and ACOA for a long time, worked the steps, the whole lot. But I realized that when I talk about my inner child, I'm deciding for the inner child what the inner child wants. I'm deciding the inner child needs this. I'm getting to ask myself the question and I'm going to get the answer back about what the inner child wants. So there's a lovely exercise I learned, and it's a grieving process. And it's for when my mother died, I wrote a letter to her and my father as well. So you take a sheet of paper, and on the sheet of paper, with your dominant hand, so I'm left-handed, I write, "Dear little Richard, love Richard of today." And on that page, I write whatever I need to write to little Richard. Then when I'm finished that, and then there can be anger, there can be rage, there can be hurt. I can't harm them. I'm having an honest conversation. I then turn the page over and I write at the top with my non-dominant hand, with my right hand. I try to write, "Dear present day Richard," and the bottom, "Love little Richard." And because it's my non-dominant hand, it activates my subconscious mind. And I start writing back to me, not consciously. So I'm not deciding what I'm writing. What's coming out is coming out of my subconscious. It comes from my inner child. My inner child said, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you bringing my past into your present and playing with in the present? I defeated that. I overcame that. And you're giving it life in the future? You're betraying me. You're sabotaging yourself and betraying me." Like, it was mind-blowing when I did this exercise. Try it yourself sometime. Now, tears are going to come. But for me, I realized that there were tears of joy, not tears of hope. I was getting a release. When I did the inner child work, I would decide, the child was saying to me, "Yeah, no, please take me out shopping or let's do a painting," whatever. But that's what I wanted. I thought the child would want. But the child was saying, "I overcame that fucking trauma, that sexual trauma. I overcame it. I beat it. I defeated it. And I survived. I survived because you're alive today. And I did that so you'd be free today. Part of my recovery was for you to have a life beyond my wildest dreams, not to suffer it too. I don't want you giving my trauma a second victim and choosing to be that victim. I overcame and beat my trauma. I defeated him. I cast him out. And now you're giving life to him in the future? You're not doing me any favors. My conversation went to a Christian place where he said, "I can't cross over into the light, into the mansion prepared for me by Father's match, because I haven't got all my baggage. You're holding me back by having my baggage. Please return my baggage to me." I mean, I did that letter 4 or 5 times, Tina, and I swear to God, having him say to me, "You're not helping the situation, giving life to my trauma in your present. You're not helping me, you're not helping yourself," was the most mind-blowing experience ever. I had this idea from the inner child work that giving the child lots of treats and activities and painting and drawing and going to the woods and climbing and hugging trees, I thought I was doing great things for my inner child. My inner child said, "I don't want to be here. Let me fucking go." I don't want to be here. I want to be in heaven where there's no harm and no pain. You know, where I might have had dysfunctional parents on earth, but my parents in heaven are spiritual love and kindness. And I want to go there and be loved and kind by loving, kinding parents who weren't available to me on earth, but they're available to me in heaven. I want to go and swim in the sea and frolic amongst the sheep and have this wonderful place where there's no harm and no hurt and no pain. Let me go.
Yeah. I think, that's the way your inner child responded, but I don't think all inner children would respond that way.
But if you try that letter, it'll help you to see it, because the truth is, like you and the 70-year-old person of in the future, if the 70-year-old person in the future started treating you as an inner child and getting you to be a part of their life, and you wanted just to go into heaven, what would you want to say to them? Would you allow them to play their game of dragging you into their present and being a part of their present? Or would you want to say, let me go? I've had my time. So if I'm with you today wanting to leave, and you're a 70-year-old version of you wanting to use you as a comfort blanket, what would you feel about that? Would you be okay being a comfort blanket, or would you want to leave and have that? You've beaten your trauma, you've overcome it, and you want to leave. Would you want to leave, or would you say,
Well, have you really beaten your trauma if you're still getting triggered by the memories?
If you've overcome it, I mean, you're a healer, and you've overcome the past. I mean, we can't change. I can't change yesterday. I played golf with my best friend yesterday. On 3 holes, I played like a dog. I had like 11 on a par 4. I'd love to go back and change that score to change some of the distance, so I didn't have an 11, so I would have had a 4. But the truth is, I had an 11 on a par 4 that I should have had a 4 on. And I can't change that. Now, I can go there and ruminate about how stupid it was to play a driver instead of playing a 5 wood, or all that kind of stuff, and go there. But the truth is, the younger person I was yesterday played this game of golf, had a great day, had meal after it, and came home. And now here I am with you, not playing golf, sitting with you about healing. 2 different versions of me altogether. And I can focus on being with you, or I can talk to you about the game yesterday and how annoyed I am at not playing good yesterday. Or I can enjoy your company of being with you today, talking about healing today. There's a choice in that. We don't think there's a choice, but there's a choice in me being present with you today, or bitching to you about what happened yesterday. There's a choice about me being present with you today, or bitching about what happened to a 12-year-old child 50 years ago. There is a choice there we're making. We have to ask why we're choosing to focus on something 50 years ago, when we could be focusing on having a wonderful conversation with Tina and going for a cup of tea and having an ice cream.
Yeah, there's the power of being present and in the now.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Well, how much energy do you want to focus on the past, on bad things that happen?
That's the holistic approach to it. Reiki, I practice Reiki too. If we can stay and be present in the present, we can manage anything. But right now, I am not a 12-year-old child who was sexually abused. I'm a 64-year-old man sitting with Tina Clark. I'm in Thailand, she's in America. We're having a chat about trauma and healing and holistic practices. And it's like, I'm safe. There's no one hurting me, no one harmed me. I have dysfunctional relationships in my life today, but they're not here in this room with myself and Tina. It's just me and Tina. I'm in my home, she's in her home, and we're in a safe place. And right now in my life, I could drop dead in 5 minutes. But right now I'm alive. I'm with Tina. There's no harm coming to me from anybody, not from my past and not from some people in my life. I realize because of my past, I never had healthy boundaries. So I had to learn to go to CODA and learn about codependency. I had to get books on setting boundaries and the right to say no. And I had to learn all this stuff so I could be stronger today, to say no, to know that if I'm going to meet my friend Simon, he really annoys the fuck out of him. So, he really frustrates me and we can really press my button. So I just say, I can't make it, Simon. Simple. I can't make it, Simon. I won't make it. I just don't turn up. Fight, flight, and freeze. Just don't turn up. And then I don't have to suffer Simon's sake. Or I go along normally and walk into the abuse and suffer the abuse all day long and come back and bitch about being abused. But I could have not gone. We have that same work. Realistically, we can take action. Just say no. Just don't go, Or I can focus on what happened to a child 50 years ago and say, this happened to me, and give up the present by focusing on the past or the future. I've got 2 children. I can go to, my friend asked me yesterday about the future and providing for your kids. And I'm kind of going, if I go there, I can go insane because part of me thinks I'm not going to be able to provide for my children in 10 years or 20 years time. You know, whatever happens, the way the world's going, I may not be able to work. I may not be able to, provide for my kids. But if I go there, I'm screwed. But right now here, I can provide for my children. I am a trauma therapist. I have a solution for past trauma memory. I'm sitting with the lovely Tina. Right here, I'm safe in that I don't have those things behind me. They're still out there, but they're not here today. And I could be dead tomorrow morning. So I just focus on being with Tina today. And after I'm with you, I'll be with my wife and with my kids, and I'll walk my dogs. But I just be today. I want to just focus on today.
I think that's a good point because we need to remind ourselves that we are safe now. And if we didn't feel safe as children, that we are not that child anymore. We are safe now. And if we don't feel safe, we can create safety for ourselves. But whatever that means.
But we need to focus on ourselves and not on the inner child. That's the big thing. I think that I did ACA and ACA for about 2 years. And I really enjoyed it. I met some really good friends and I loved it. The therapy was wonderful. But I realized I was focusing all my energy on somebody else. I was focusing all my energy on that child. And I wasn't focusing the energy on myself. Same as when I was I'm in AA as well. I developed many addictions, alcohol and gambling. And I'd be focusing on making amends and making restitution and not focusing on me. I'd be doing this thing about going through my day, making all amends and restitution to my family and to community and to society and getting to meetings and sponsoring and doing service. But there's never any kind of space for Richard to just treat Richard to an ice cream or to a lollipop or to play with my Barbie dolls and build a fort. There's no space like that for me. Not for my inner child, but for me. I can recall hiding behind the couch in a safe place. Maybe one day I just go and climb behind the couch just for the fun of it, just to remember that memory of being safe, or play with my fort, or play with my dolls. For me, not for my inner child, for myself. So if you want to play with your Barbie dolls for yourself, do it. Don't play with Barbie dolls for your inner child. They've had their childhood. They survived it. They did okay. And they did okay because you're alive today.
Yeah, and I don't want to play with dolls now.
I know, but in case you did, or you have a teddy bear or cats, maybe you have cats now instead of dolls, and you have your cats and you love cuddling your cats or whatever. We've a dog. I love taking my dog for walks. I love hugging trees. I've never lost that. So if I'm in the forest, I'll go and hug a tree. The simple hugging a tree, for me, that's very holistic. That's just a case of you're with nature, you're with God, and you're holding a creature that God created. I love them in the Lord of the Rings where the trees came alive and they're walking along called the Ents. So I had this idea, I'm going to hug a tree and the tree's going to say, thank you for picking me up and carrying me along kind of stuff. That kind of fantasy stuff. But it's a wonderful feeling of being connected to God and the earth. And, take your shoes off and let the energy come up to your feet, hug a tree, splash water in your face, cold water, these things. But we have to start doing this for ourselves, not for our inner child, not for our parents, not for a past aspect, not for a future aspect, not for our kids. Somewhere in the day, we have to have half an hour for Tina, or an hour for Tina, half an hour for Richard, an hour for Richard. But get into looking after Richard. What does Richard need? So I've gone back to my faith. I don't want to say Catholic. I don't want to say Christian. I don't want to say Protestant. I have a relationship now with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And what I like about this is that we have 24 hours in our day, and all we have is today, okay? And if I can, at nighttime, give my day to God and say, okay, this is my day. I read Tina this morning. I met my wife. I went for a walk. I did my work. This everything happens, all my conflict. I give it all to you now. Take it for the next 8 hours. Now, if I can give my 8 hours of sleep, and I need to actually go to a space of actually giving it to him, saying, okay, I'm giving you this 8 hours, and I detail everything in it, and I give it to him. Put my head on the pillow, I sleep like a baby. Then I only have 16 hours to do. Next morning I wake up and I kind of, okay, God, I set my day up to 16 hours. And I do my 16 hours. And every time an hour goes by, I have 15 hours, 14 hours, 13 hours. And it's much easier to live 16 hours a day than to live 16 hours plus the last 64 years, plus the next 20 years. So just focusing on 16 hours only is much, much easier. So I live on 16 hours. And even not even 24, because I give the 8 to God. And there's no religion in it. I'm not a member of a church or denomination. I just give him my 8 hours at night time. With all my troubles, all the past, all the future, give it all to him at night. So I get peaceful sleep at night. And then 16 hours, what do I have to do for these 16 hours? But I've got an appointment with Tina at 7 o'clock. I meet Tina at 7. And then from then I go on and do something, have some breakfast, go with my wife, take my dogs, do my work around the house, do my work in my therapy practice. And then I go, it's 12 o'clock. Oh my God, I've only got 10 hours left. I go to bed at 10 o'clock. I've only got 10 hours left. How easy is this? And then at 2 o'clock, I've only got 8 hours left. And at 6 o'clock, I've only 4 hours left. I go for a walk, I turn off my phone. Suddenly it's 10 o'clock. I got through a whole day there. That was so easy. And you go back and you give it to God again the next 8 hours, and then you wake up and you do another 16 hours. And we haven't even talked about trauma yet.
And now we're living in a time where time has increased and quickened. So I remember as a kid when your days were so long?
I can't get over how fast Christmas comes around. I can remember last Christmas, and now we've just done this Christmas. It's like, how when you pass 50, the years turn into months.
Yeah, but you know what? I talk with my children about this, and they're teenagers, and they also agree that time is going by fast for them.
But when you're very
young,
the year lasts forever. You couldn't wait. Your school year was so long. I mean, you couldn't wait until your midterm or your long. Yeah. But now you're adults, like the year goes. So I can't believe it's only Christmas, and now suddenly it's January, and it's like I can remember all the build up to Christmas and the whole thing of Christmas, and now it's gone. I can remember we've got a whole year now. We can do something in the whole year. But I know that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning thinking it's Christmas. And it's like, where did the time go? We're having such fun, So, but we only have the present. That's all we ever had. Society tells us, the past is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. You only have today. Don't cry over spilled milk. It's all water under the bridge. The Bible says, let the dead bury the dead. And that's basically what we have to do. We only have today. So I have my hour with you, Tina. I'm loving this. I could talk to you for hours. I mean, this is like, you're just pressing all my buttons about the right things to talk about. We haven't even talked about Reiki or other healing methods. But like holistic is like opens the door to hugging trees, playing with Barbie dolls, building a fort, playing with your cats, playing with your dogs, having an ice cream, having a lollipop, hiding behind a couch, hiding behind the curtains. There's so much we can do without taking a pill or going into a state of depression. I mean, if you're feeling depressed, put on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and go for a jog and run around the block. Just go for a run. You can be depressed, but go for a run with a smile on your face. You come back and you suddenly find you've activated all the energy in your body and you're a different person. Smile. Yeah. In any moment, just smile. You're feeling depressed, just smile. And the simple smile will stop your depression. Now, you may smile for 3 minutes, but you do 23 minutes, you got an hour. To smile for 3 minutes and kind of go, that was fake. I'll do another 3 minutes. And you got 6 minutes, you got 9 minutes, suddenly you got an hour simply smiling. We have a spirit within us that we need to feed, that the hole in our soul. We want to feed that, fill up that soul with energy that would be good, all holistic energy. I love Reiki, I love tapping, I love acupressure, I love yoga breathing practices, I love exercise. All this stuff is great for the soul, to feed the soul, to feel it alive. Go for a run, go for a cycle, I love swimming in cold water. You jump into cold water, you're waking up, you become alive. You jump into freezing cold water, it's like, suddenly it gives you, and you smile and laugh your head off. It's so, what am I stupid getting into this water, freezing, laugh your head off, and suddenly the depression's gone from them. This fallen world causes depression and despair. You see it all around. What's happened with how America treats their presidents. There's a time when you'd respect your president. Now they're a laughing stock. And in England, it's the royal family are a laughing stock. And then what people are doing in power, that they're abusing the power and betraying it, whatever. And then priests doing bad things. And then Russia starting the war with Ukraine. The world seems to be falling apart all around us. And to be normal people, we look to leaders to guide us, but the leaders seem to be making awful stupid mistakes and selfish mistakes. And this thing about the vaccines are coming out now that the vaccines weren't real. And Bill Gates talking about they have to reduce the population. I'm going to create vaccines to do so. Like you see these videos kind of going, what? They can't say these things. And nothing happens, So I could get started on vaccines. I had the vaccines, I'm having a mild heart attack and 2 mini strokes from out of nowhere. Like it's just, I'll never take a vaccine again as long as I live. But it's like we can't trust the people we're meant to trust. And then
Yeah, we're in the age of where we realized the leadership and the authority, or who we considered an authority, is no longer an authority. And so we're in the age now we are questioning authority, and we need to,
yeah,
because
that's,
we've been lied to about everything.
yeah. The big pharma has. I don't want to talk about. Sorry, I want to watch myself. I'm not a professional qualified in anything, but again, as a normal human being, I think like the World Health Organization is meant to be the World Health Organization for our benefit. And sometimes I think they're working on behalf of the big pharma. They're making decisions that aren't in the best interest of the normal people.
Hmm.
And that can be very depressing to think that we're on our own. The people we're meant to trust, we can't trust. And there's people we can't trust, they're even worse. And it's like, how do you survive? So I think we need to learn how to treat ourselves. And holistically, we can do that.
Well, we have our own inner guidance and wisdom, and that's where we need to start connecting to that,
yeah,
and our discernment also. And we need to do our research, and we need to ask a lot of questions, and then we need to connect with our feeling about something. Does this feel right? Does this feel good? Am I excited about learning about this or trying
yeah.
this? And then that's your yes.
But they're your instincts. Like your feelings and your emotions are your God-given instincts. To ask questions, to see, does this feel right? Listen to Richard. Does Richard feel like someone I feel safe with or not? If not, well, then I won't call him. If it is, I will call him. Does Tina feel safe to be around because she's speaking well? Yeah, I'll give Tina a call. I'll do a wake with her. No, I don't feel safe with her. I won't. We have to start trusting our feelings and our emotions. They're our God-given instincts. So if you listen to someone speaking, you're thinking, that guy's a load of bollocks. I'm not phoning him. Don't phone him. That guy, yeah, he's saying something that really makes sense to me. Yeah, I'll give him a call. We have to trust our instincts. Don't let someone else say to you, no, you must go to Richie. He's fantastic. If I don't feel comfortable with Richie, I'm not going anywhere near Richie. Someone says, Tina's fantastic, Reiki, you should go to Tina. And I don't feel comfortable with Tina, I don't go near Tina. Nothing against what anyone else thinks. I have to trust my instincts. So if someone comes on to you, one of the audience comes on and says, I love what Tina had to say, and she really asked the right questions. She really pushed this guy. I didn't really fancy what he had to say. I take care of Richie. I work with Tina. It says, I liked what Richie had to say. I like Tina. I'm going to work with Tina and Richie. Work with Tina and Richie. Trust your instincts. That's the bottom line I have to say to anyone out there. Trust your instincts. They're God-given instincts. Give your instincts a trust. If you're feeling, say, this isn't safe, walk away, run away, hide, freeze. Just trust your instincts and take that action. If your action is play with Barbie dolls, play with your fork, play with your cats, go for a swim, go for an ice cream, leave the building, just do that. And then
And the other thing about healing is, it's the way it's set up and structured, I believe, is when you are struggling with something, you need to go get help. Like, you can do a lot on your own. Don't get me wrong. You can read all the books and learn the modalities, but sometimes you need an outside perspective on whatever issue you have a challenge with. And the way I believe it's set up is you have to go outside of yourself for help. So find somebody that can help you in whatever you're struggling with.
Well, the nature, they talk about us being, we were created in the image of God. And I really believe that we're spiritual beings and physical beings. And we need connection. We can't do this on our own. We're not meant to do it on our own. So whether your connection is to meet with someone who's Reiki, like Tina, you meet Tina. If it's okay to meet someone who's into God like myself, then meet me. I'm big holistic. I don't promote church, religion, or denomination. I'm not a member of any, but I have a Bible, and I read my Bible all the time, especially the New Testament. Matthew, I love Matthew, Sermon on the Mountain, the Lord's Prayer. They blow me away. The knowledge in that, And in the Old Testament, I read the book of Job. The book of Job is anyone who's got PTSD, read the book of Job. That's your story. Everything falls apart, but Job doesn't lose faith. And in the end, God rewards him, And I believe that God chooses certain people on this earth for terrible turmoil. That there's no Satan or evil. This God is actually tempering us to be giants like Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. That we suffer hardship and dysfunction of relationships and abuse and trauma. And out of it, We become like phoenixes rising out of the ash, and we change the world because we've changed through our trauma. I used to think that this is good and evil and that Satan did this to me. Now I really, from the book of Job, I realized God is doing all of this to me, all the good and the bad, because he's a plan. His plan was I would start living in Ireland, in retail, in my family business, working in retail. I'd suffer trauma. I'd leave Ireland, go to Thailand, I'd get married, I'd go through all my trauma stuff and all my addiction, all my self-harm, and 2 attempted suicides. To today, I'd be certainly on Tina Clark's podcast, carrying the message of hope. And what I like to think is that one person in your audience is going to be listening to this podcast today, and we're going to give that person hope. And that person's going to suddenly recover completely, get married, have children, and one of their children will go on to create a cure for cancer or AIDS. Might be in 2 generations, but they won't know that Tina Clark and Richard Tierney played their part in it. But God put us here so that in 3 generations, a child of your audience created a cure for cancer or AIDS. No one will ever know we did it. We won't get the accolades for it on this earth. But God will know his plan was to put Tina Clark and Richard Tierney together. And that created the creation that one of your audience went on and got recovery, got married, brought their children up in a very healthy, living manner, and one of their children created a cure for cancer. And that's why I believe this is it. God has a plan for us. We may not like the fact that he put us through so much abuse and dysfunctional parenting or sexual abuse for me. But out of that, I can do this with you. And somewhere I'm going to touch the soul of somebody, offer them hope, and they're going to do something where their children create a cure for cancer or AIDS. And there'll be a Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King down the road, and no one will know that we played our part in it in 2025, that in the year 2098, some child created a cure for cancer. And they're kind of going, well done to them and the parents. No one knew that Tina Clark had, but we don't need an accolade or recognition for it. God chose us for this path. And that's why you put me through my fires of trauma and you through your fires of trauma, because we survived it and we came through it, so that our future aspect, somewhere down the line, would do something amazing. And we played our part, So
right, or we even played our part within our own families, because
it might be one of your children. It might be one of your children's children do it. We don't know.
Or we just stopped the dysfunctional behavior. We decided not to adopt it or repeat it, and it stops with us.
But I like to think that by stopping the dysfunctional behavior, something comes out of us, like a phoenix rises out of the ashes. So it's great that we stopped the dysfunctional behavior, but I don't want to leave it there. That's our achievement. Because we've stopped it, we're now creating a bed space for something to grow. A phoenix come out of the ashes, because now that all dysfunctional behavior is gone and it's stopped with us, which is a great achievement. Let's go further and say, well, because of that, now in 3 generations, we're going to create a Nelson Mandela in our line of family, or a Martin Luther King or Jimmy Carter. Because of what we did today, something great is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, and the great thing is they don't get to carry the trauma down the family line.
Yeah,
done.
Isn't that
cleared
fantastic?
It? Yeah, there's nothing better.
Nothing better. So all I'm saying is that, but I like to have the kind of the idea that we're achieving just more than that. Like, it's great to get the trauma stopped and get it cleared, but let's go further and say, and out of that, a phoenix is going to rise from the ashes. Now, I don't know what the phoenix are, but I'd like to think that someone's going to create a cure for cancer or AIDS, whether it's in my family or your family or in your audience or in their family. It's nice to feel that sense of not just stopping it, because we stopped it, we've created a new scenario that was never there before. And I like to think that God had that plan in mind. I don't know his plan, but before I was born, God had a plan. He was going to put me through all this trauma, and then I was going to survive it. And then 3 generations, they're going to get a cure for cancer or AIDS. And it's because of me going through all my trauma. Okay, it's lovely to kind of make the mind-blowing observation that we're suffering this. There's a reason for it. It doesn't make any sense to us why we have to suffer this and no one else. My family, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, none of them suffered sexual abuse. I'm the one who had this, and I tried to commit suicide twice, self-harm for many years, cutting myself, alcohol, gambling. I think if I got near drugs, I would have taken drugs. I went to a really dark place. But today, I'm Tierney therapy. I'm teaching people how to heal from trauma. And I had to go through all that to get to where I am today. I went from retail sales in Ireland to living in Thailand as a trauma recovery therapist. I'm not a mental health professional. I never want to be a mental health professional. I'm a holistic trauma therapist. I teach people holistically to let go of your past. So you have a conversation with your younger self saying to you, Richard, please give me back my shit and let me go. I want to step into the light and be gone. And when you have that visualization, you see your younger self stepping into the light, and that leaves you, like that hole in your soul just suddenly disappears, and it leaves you. And we're meant to carry all the memories of our past. That's who we are as human beings. Every memory you have from your childhood, you have. But if you look back, you don't have the details of them. So I remember being a 6-year-old child in school, and there was an egg and spoon race. I can remember being in an egg and spoon race, egg and spoon, running down this field with my friends. But I can't remember if it was a sunny day or if it was a windy day or if there's sweat in my brow. The details I don't have. But I remember as a child being running in an egg and spoon race. You know, you have the egg and spoon, you're running down the field with a spoon, trying to hold the egg and keep falling off, you put it back up again. You'd be laughing your head off. But I don't remember the details of it because the details are gone. So it's only a memory. So when we can give the details back to our younger self and he steps into the light, now we have a memory of the trauma. We can say, yeah, no, and my therapist asked me, I say, you know what happened to that 12-year-old child was terrible. I really feel for that 12-year-old child. But I don't have the details to own it myself. The details have left. So I always have that memory. Yeah, when I was 12 years of age, that child suffered a trauma event. But I don't have the details, so I can't say it happened to me. We give the details away. We're not blocking the memory. The memory's always there. You'll have every memory you've had, you'll have. I have the memory of that 12-year-old child being sexually abused. But he was abused, not me. Because I give the details away. I don't remember all the things before I remembered about the perspiration and sweat and the pee in the pants. All the things I can feel in my body, they're gone. Now it's like I'm outside looking in. I can see a child abused. I can see him being abused. I can see the abuse happening to him, but I'm not in it because I've given the details away. And that's what we're just giving the details away to separate ourselves from that child. You know?
And then you know that you have gone to a place where you can remember the memory, but not be stuck in the past.
Yeah. And but the lovely thing about the visualization is you see the child saying to you, thank you for giving me back my crap. Like, thank you. I'm not angry at you for giving it. I'm not angry for abandoning me. I really want you to abandon me and go off and have your life. I'm taking my crap back off you. I'm taking into God's waiting to take the crap off me. I'm giving it all to him. He's taking it all. He's going to heal all that. And I can step into the light and have a great time in heaven. And now you're left with the memory and go off and have your life. And when you have that, there's a weight comes off your body. It's a wonderful when you see a client. It's like you get this huge weight coming off your body. The hole in your soul disappears. And at the end of the session, you're kind of going, it's gone. Like it's just like a wonderful feeling. It takes about 2 hours for the session, and suddenly it's gone. And suddenly then you have to unlearn all the dysfunctional behavior you've learned from your PTSD or depression. You have to learn how to undo that. And there's a 12-step program for that. But the healing event is 2 hours of giving the past to your younger self and seeing him, visualize him stepping into the light. And when stepping into the light, it's gone from your being, you know. And then you do the 12 steps to undo all the learned behavior. Because when we have this depression or PTSD, we push away people who are healthy and people who are unhealthy. We don't have any healthy boundaries. So we're hurting and pushing away people who love us because we can't handle the love. It's too close to us. So when we get rid of the trauma, we can then review our situations and see that, no, my wife is trying to love me. I've got to make amends to her. That's a safe love. No, Simon isn't a safe love. So I'm going to hold my boundaries. So you learn how to set boundaries. That kind of stuff. You know? So.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the going into the light, it feels very transformative, like you're transforming the energy. And that light is very healing and clearing, and it just kind of clears it out.
I love that. That's so holistic. I love the idea of the light and holistic, you know, and the breath. If a friend of mine that I got is the yoga instructor, and he taught me about the breath. And in every spiritual tradition, the breath is the breath of life, you know. And it's like you're drawing the breath of the Holy Spirit. And when you exhale, you're casting out all the anxiety, all the depression. So you kind of go, and you let it go from your system. But you have to visualize yourself drawing in the Holy Spirit, the sunlight of the Spirit into your body, let it flow into every part of your body. And then imagine you're casting out, just naturally, letting go of the anxiety and stress and just, and suddenly you find there's a shift in your energy. I mean, it's wonderful energy. That's what I love about energy. You get a shift in it, in the breath, sunlight, cold water in your face, sunlight, you know, anything like this, the energy, light, the idea. I spoke to guys who spoke about the aura. I've never seen an aura. I'd love to know how to see an aura. I'd love to see an aura. I worked with somebody about a week ago who does aura work, and they can see the color of your aura. And I'm thinking, oh, teach me, will you? I'd love to see the aura because I love all that. I love the idea of seeing light and seeing color and seeing and
Mm-hmm.
breathing out. And big one for me is the breath. You release the anxiety and stress. And you see people, they do this big long, like the small breath, and suddenly you say, oh, and they let out this and singing and laughing and this kind of stuff, living out and the negative energy. It's beautiful. I think it's the way, if we go down sorry, my experience, I have to be very careful how I say this. My experience of working with mental health professionals was, it was therapy, focusing on the inner child and then taking medication. And I got lost in that. For me, I focused so much on my hour of my therapist about what happened in the past and how that made me feel, that I didn't actually focus on Richard. And then I was taking medication for how I felt. I'd leave the place devastated and broken. And I remember getting in my car and I couldn't drive. I'd sit in the bit of my car and I'd be crying in the car. And I wasn't cohesive enough to drive the car after a session because so much came up. I'd sit in the car for about an hour before I could actually drive home. And as much as I love a therapist hearing me and hearing my voice and being heard, it would destroy me. And I have to go back and be amongst my family for the next week until I got my next session. And it became like an addiction, And the medication was great, but then I found that medication just numbed me completely to my feelings. So as much as it suppressed emotions, it also made me numb to my feelings. And it just wasn't healthy for me. So I wanted to stop and find something. That's why I really want to do a holistic practice. I want to find some way of finding a relief outside of medication and therapy. And I loved Reiki, and I loved doing EFT, and I loved doing tapping and acupressure, and I loved doing yoga breathing, and I loved laughing. I love laughing is a big one for me, and crying. And now when I cry, I don't cry tears of grief. I'm crying tears of joy. So I go into a bit where I cry, and I cry for 20 minutes. And the release from my body is huge. But I'm saying to myself, these are tears of joy. And just let it out. I've been carrying it for so long. Just let that stuff go, So we can use everything in a positive, healthy way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So there's lots of options, to try. And we have a few minutes left. So would you share how people can contact you and if you have any projects you'd like to talk about?
Okay. Thank you. Tina, thank you very much for the little plug. Oh, before I give you a little plug, I'd like to say to you, one thing I say to all my clients is we all deserve a second chance at normal life. I recall I go to a party and my friends or family and be all chatting about ordinary rubbish stuff. And I'd be there seething in my mind because my life is so horrible. And everyone's talking about ordinary stupid stuff and they're not focusing on me. And all I ever wanted was to be a normal, boring human being. I could go to a party with my family or friends and talk about the weather and about school and kids, whatever, and be comfortable and normal. All I want is a second chance. So I would say to you, God's got a very bad vibe, a bad name in the world today. Be willing to give him a second chance. Just one night say, God, here's my shit, and make a list of everything and say out loud, I've got problems with my wife, my husband, my mother, my father, my boss, my father. I'm giving this to you. Give me 10 minutes of peace of mind. And experience that 10 minutes of peace of mind. And you'll be amazed that actually, if you give it to me, you'll take it off. That's all I'm going to say. Don't join a religion. Just find something to give him your crap for 10 minutes and see what it feels like. And that'll give you the courage to give him more of your crap every day. So give God a second chance. And myself, if you want to contact me directly, you can contact me at richard@traumarecoveryanonymous.com. And I do groups of from 1 to 100 people. So if you don't want to come on your own, but you'd like to do the session in a group, you can pay for a group as the same price you pay for one person. It's 300 baht for one person, 300 baht for two, 300 baht for six, 300 baht for 10. And then after that, it's 30 euro per person. So, and now when I work with people, I don't have to know your story. I found with people, for myself, after 2 therapists, I found myself having to embellish my story because the first 2 didn't really get the story, didn't really get the message. So I had to, and my story builds a life of its own. So when you come to me, I don't want to know your story. You don't want me to know your story. All I need to know is that your name and your age today, the name and age of the younger version of you who suffered the event, and we call the event a loss of innocence. So I'm working with 5 people. We all suffered a loss of innocence. Now you know what your loss of innocence is. I know what my loss of innocence is. That sums up everything. So that's our mantra for our work. And you don't need to tell me your story because loss of innocence stuff covers for you everything. As loss of innocence covered for me everything. I've written a number of books on Amazon Kindle. I have the healing event. It's called How to Heal Any Past Trauma Memory. And then 12-step program is the Trauma Recovery Anonymous second edition. They're both on Amazon Kindle. And then the 12-step program is also on most of the book platforms, but the healing event is on Amazon. And I got it as a Kindle. You can download as an ebook on Amazon Kindle. On Amazon. Okay.
Great. So again, it's Richard Tierney, and check out his books on Amazon. All of this information is going to be in the show notes if you'd like to contact him or be part of his group therapy session. And thank you, Richard, so much for sharing your wisdom and experience today.
Tina, it was a great pleasure. I loved being on your show. Thank you very much. Good luck with everything. You're Reiki with your cats and with your show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.